Well, we already know that the NFL season is drawing near. But what teams will be in the playoff picture? Let's rock, and I'll get into my predictions. Please be sure to like and subscribe on this video for more all-around sports content. For now, enjoy the video. Let's talk football. What's going on, guys? My name is Antonio, and welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast. Today, for the first time on my channel, I am going to be doing a NFL playoff picture prediction. So, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to go over both the NFC playoff teams and the AFC playoff teams that I have in the picture and what teams I have just on the outside. And on the for the bubble teams, here's what I'm going to do for that. I am going to go over what teams might be on the bubble and which ones will make it into the playoffs. But I've been debating this for a while, so this is my final prediction for like final division winners, and also along with like full on playoff picture. And when we hit the wild card round of when I go over my predictions, I will be going over this list to see which ones I got right and to see which ones I got wrong. So before we get started, if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. But for now, let's get this prediction started. So first up, we're going to start off with the AFC playoff picture. So the AFC is also otherwise known as the Gauntlet Division, as I like to call it. Or Gauntlet Conference. But this conference is getting more stacked as it is. So for the first team at the number one seed, I don't have the Chiefs because it is very hard to pull up the three-peat. I do have them still winning their division, but I'm going to put a different team at the number one seed. This team has been getting a lot of hype, especially after they went 3-13-1 a season ago to eventually become 10-7, win a playoff game, and eventually got beat out by the Ravens in the divisional round. I'm going to go with the Texans winning the number one seed. Now, let me explain. The Texans last year shocked everybody. They shocked everyone. So I was watching some games, and last season, the Texans first caught my attention when they beat the Bengals. That was when they first caught my attention. Then was when it was starting to get rolling. And now the Texans have now actually transformed into becoming a feared team. And man, were the Jaguars shocked about that. But anyways, the Texans I have winning the number one seed, but the number two seed I have the Ravens because the Ravens they are still the top front runners of their division because we still got questions of Joe Burrow. I do see them still making the playoffs. I will get to that in a second. But the Ravens, they loaded up in this offseason. They are right now the most stacked team of the AFC North. But the teams in the AFC North are like the Bengals. We still got questions about them. Deshaun Watson and the Browns. We still got questions about him. And the Steelers, which they're not going to be a big of a problem this year because they got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields as their quarterbacks, which they're already now starting to regret. But next up at the number three seed, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs were the three seed last year, and they ended up beating the Miami Dolphins at home. So that's why I put them in this position because the Chiefs, we all know the three-peat is extremely rare. It is super rare for that to happen. The last time it happened that I can remember was when Kobe Bryant was with the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA. As we all know, it's never happened in the NFL other than the Packers before the Super Bowl era. But this Chiefs team is dangerous. I do see them still winning their division until proven otherwise. So I have them at number 3 seed. Next up is a number 4 seed of the winner of the AFC East. I have debated between the Bills and the Dolphins. I have been doing some hard debating, and I'm going to go with the Dolphins because they pretty much need to win their division this year because they have proven that if they're in cold weather, they are not going to win a playoff game because for some reason they can't find a way to play in dang cold. But the Dolphins, they are relatively good. But if they can't get a home playoff game, they're going to be one and done. Because if you cannot play in the elements, you cannot beat those good teams. And Tua last year was 1-6 against playoff teams, over 500 teams last year. So we'll see what happens. But the division winners I have is the Texans at the number 1 seed, Ravens at the 2 seed, and the Chiefs at the 3 seed, and the Dolphins at the 4 seed. Now let's get into the wild card teams that did not win their division. So at number 5, at the 5 seed, I have the Jaguars. The Jaguars went pretty much all out this year because the Jaguars, they are really good. I mean, this team's looking really good. You got an offense with Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Travis Etienne, along with a defense that not only has Josh Hines Allen now, which is a really cool name by the way, and they also got Eric Armstead, which I was pretty surprised that the Niners let him go. But I'm pretty sure they're going to regret that sooner or later. But the Jaguars are really good. I see them being really good. But although they did have that collapse last year, I'm hoping that their offense is going to be a lot better next year. But that's why I have them at the 5 seed. At the 6 seed, I got the Bengals. The Bengals, although Joe Burrow is hurt, I was hurt last year. I do see them still coming back. And although they did lose DJ Reader, which that's going to come back to bite them in the butt because he was a big key role in their defensive pass rush. But the Bengals are going to be strong next year, and the fact is they are still the kryptonite to Kansas City. But number 7 seed, I have the Bills. The Bills because even though Josh Allen is now without Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, he could still be relatively good. I believe Keon Coleman is going to step up into the role that Stephon Diggs was. And I do believe that this team is going to be overall really decent because they still got James Cook, they still got Dalton Kincaid, they still got Dawson Knox, and you bring in Marcus Valdez-Scantling, a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs, which they lost out on the opportunity of getting Xavier Worthy that went to Kansas City. Kind of similar to the circumstance of when they traded down that gave the Chiefs Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, Bills fans. I had to bring that up. But that is my AFC prediction of the playoff pictures. The teams I had just on the outside of the picture were 3 teams. Those 3 teams were the Colts, the Jets, and also along with the Browns. The Jets, I am not buying the hype yet on them because the fact is they're the Jets, one of the most terrible, irrelevant franchises in the NFL. And I'm just not buying the hype. The Colts, I see potential there, but they're just in a hole. As long as Anthony Richardson's healthy, I do see them potentially fighting for a playoff spot, but just missing out. And then lastly is the Browns. There's still a lot of question around the Cleveland Browns organization because of Deshaun Watson, if he's going to play well, that he did up in Houston. But that is my prediction for the AFC picture. Now let's move down to the NFC. Now moving down to the NFC, the final conference that I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to be doing like matchup predictions, but I'm going to be doing what teams I have in the picture. But first up is the number one seed. Many people are saying it's going to be the Niners again. I don't see it happening this time for the 49ers because the Niners are not even close to being more stacked than the team I'm about to mention. The Detroit Lions, I see getting the number one seed. Let me explain. The Lions, I have a mutual respect for them because after many years of getting trolled on, after having a 32-year playoff curse and a 30-year division curse, they ended up becoming from one of the biggest laughing stocks in the NFL to becoming one of the most feared teams in the NFL. And they have also earned a massive due of respect, primarily from the Packers, since they were the ones always beating down on them.
What's wrong with preaching that way? I'm sorry.
See? Now you respect me because I'm a threat.
But other than that, this Lions team is stacked top to bottom. They are stacked top to bottom. And the fact is, they got DJ Reader, as I mentioned earlier. I just saw that as a big time mistake, and that's going to come back to bite the Bengals in the butt. But this Lions team is really dangerous, and I believe they're going to be the one seed this year, and they are going to be a big time problem. At the number two seed, I got the Eagles because, as we all know, there's not been a repeat champion in the NFC East for quite some time, and I do believe that this.
A few moments later.
Sorry about that, guys. Had a little fly here, but anyways, as I was saying, the Eagles, they are relatively good. This team got Saquon Barkley from the Giants, which the Giants let him walk, and now pretty much the Giants are kind of regretting that. But the Eagles, they are stacked. And they're right now ahead of the Niners as far as anybody else is concerned. Because the Eagles, their defense only got stronger with the addition of Jeremiah Trotter. That kind of gives me vibes of Bobby Wagner, if you ask me. But next up at the number three seed is none other than the 49ers that lost in the Super Bowl again. Now, the Niners. I've debated this team a few times, so I'm not going to get too far into the details. So, the Niners had, of course, one of the highest ranked offenses in the NFL last year, and one of the top defenses, which the passing game was kind of their weak spot of what happened last year. Now, the Niners, they did go out there and reload and getting Leonard Floyd and Devondre Campbell, but you can't avoid not losing Eric Armstead and Chase Young, which I believe Chase Young might have just come in there to sabotage you.
Time to abandon ship.
But that's just my personal opinion. But anyways, the Niners, this team is pretty much going to go as far as Kyle Shanahan takes them. Which in this case is not very far. It's pretty much a Super Bowl appearance, and that's it. Because, believe it or not, Kyle Shanahan just can't finish the job. He just can't finish it. Because Kyle Shanahan, I've debated this a few times, he's fighting for his career right here. He's fighting for his job. And if they lose in the playoffs, whether it's in the Super Bowl or earlier, he's going to be gone out of there because this is pretty much the make it or break it season for the 49ers because you got guys that are going to want to get paid a load of money like Nick Bosa, like he already did, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, soon to be not Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, which he really deserves it because he I fully am gonna defend Purdy when I say this, coming from a Seahawks fan. He ultimately did not lose that game. it was the defense that did it. But ultimately, probably wasn't entirely the defense. Partly of it was Kyle Shanahan because he's just a choker when it comes to the Super Bowl, especially when it comes to playing Kansas City. That is still the 49ers' daddy.
Let's try. Where can I hide?
How about in here with me?
Sure, I'll just hide in
But anyways, that's why I have the Niners as the 3 seed. Number 4 seed is the winner of the NFC South. I have debated this a few times, and I've ultimately ended up with the Atlanta Falcons because despite the Buccaneers coming back relatively better, I don't think they're ahead of the Falcons right now because the Falcons, the fact is they're the most stacked offense in the NFL. And after going out there and getting Matthew Judon from the Patriots that really wanted out of New England, and also getting out there and getting Justin Simmons, this team is one of the most dangerous teams of the NFC South because I originally had the Buccaneers winning the division, but I now swapped it to Atlanta just because of their recent moves. Because the Atlanta Falcons, they are just stacked top to bottom, and there's no doubt that the Falcons are going to be back in this position this upcoming year. But next up at number 5 is none other than the Dallas Cowboys. I still got this team in the picture because for some reason they somehow still make the playoffs only to just choke right at the next second. And if they do get the 5 seed, and if I'm correct, they would be going against the Falcons. The Cowboys, they are just the definition of mediocrity because the Cowboys, despite them saying that they're all in, pretty much they're all out, if you ask me, all out of the playoffs, if you ask me, for when it comes to the wild card round. But the Cowboys, they are just still an accident. They're just still a choke waiting to happen, pretty much. They're still a choke waiting to happen. Accident waiting to happen in Stephen A. Smith's eyes. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say choke waiting to happen. But this Cowboys team is just in a load of trouble. And I'm not entirely ruling out the entirety of missing the playoffs. I'm not ruling that out a bit. But I do see them still making the playoffs because, believe it or not, the Cowboys still are relatively good, but they're just not Super Bowl caliber. Sorry, Cowboy fans, but it's true. But number 6 seed, I got the Packers. The Green Bay Packers. After shocking everybody last year by going into the playoffs and putting a butt whooping on the Dallas Cowboys, as I mentioned earlier. The Packers now look like one of the most dangerous young teams in the NFL. So the Packers, I do see in this picture because their defense is going to be entirely better next year, including getting out there and getting Xavier McKinney from the New York Giants, which is a really good safety in my opinion. And also they went out there and got guys like Josh Jacobs, but in the same breath, also giving up Aaron Jones to the Minnesota Vikings. Which I bet every Packer fan is just pulling their hair out right now. But they went out there and got Josh Jacobs to replace him. This team is relatively good. They loaded up really well in the draft. I like the safeties that they chose. This team is really scary, and I'm actually scared to face when my Seahawks face this team week 15 because that is going to be a really good game because it'll be the first time since in the rivalry that both Hall of Fame quarterbacks are gone, which was Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, which Packers versus Seahawks is a really good rivalry. And after looking back at some of the past games, I could see why the Packers hate us. I could see why their fans hate us because of the whole Fail Mary incidents. But other than that, I do see the Packers still getting in at the number 6 seed. Number 7 seed is I'm not putting in the Rams because the Rams lost Aaron Donald, their Hall of Fame defensive end.
No! 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 No!
So I do believe they're going to get some growing pains out of that. But I'm going to put a different team in there instead, which is my team, the Seahawks. Now, I know some people are going to put up a disagreement with me, but let me explain why. What were we saying about the Rams last year? What were we saying? They had a bad offensive line, and their offense was atrocious. That was before Puka Nacua rose up to the category. Now, the Seahawks are not the Rams, sure. But Mike Macdonald is a mastermind defensive coach. He's one of the best defensive minds in today's game. And the reason why that the Seahawks hired him is because he absolutely pounded the freak out of the 49ers, making Mike Macdonald look like the Grinch that stole Christmas. But pretty much the Seahawks fans are very excited to see about what Mike Macdonald can bring, including myself. But the defense, last year they were bottom 30 in almost every single category. That is going to change because when you bring in guys like Byron Murphy, Jonathan Hankins, Rashawn Jenkins, and loads of other pieces like Jerome Baker and Terrell Dotson, this team is scary because this team is just legitimately on fire. This team could be really scary. And the Seahawks offense, let me go over a history of stats here really quick. Sorry, I had to go and look up the stats really quick. But here are the stats. Total points per game. The Seahawks ranked 17th in the NFL. Rushing offense was not really good because it was ranked 28th in the NFL. I do believe that's going to get better under the help of Kenneth Walker III and Kenny McIntosh and Charbonnet, because I've said this since K9 came into the league, and I wasn't a YouTuber when he came into the league. He looked like a superstar just coming in from the draft, and that is what he's ultimately become, which I'll touch on him in just a second. Passing offense was ranked 14th in the NFL, right behind teams like the 49ers and also along with a few others that I cannot name at this exact minute. But the Seahawks, they got weapons left and right. They got DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett. They got K9, Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh, if he does play this year, which I'm hoping he does, and also along with Noah Fant, and also along with AJ Barner, Jake Westover if he does play, and also along with a guy like, what was that guy's name? Sorry, I'm a little, I can't. Farrell Brown. Although he's a veteran, I do see potential from him. But the offensive line, this offensive line got loaded up during the offseason. They went out there and got guys in the draft like Christian Haynes, that guy out of Utah, I cannot pronounce his name, and also along with Michael Jarrell. But in the free agent market, they got back George Fant, and they also got a guy in Connor Williams, which was with Miami the year before, which this offensive line is going to be relatively better, and especially under the coordination of Ryan Grubb, this team could rise up to the highest standard, because not a lot of people know this, but did you know that Geno Smith was top in air raid offenses in college? Now I know he's much older, but there is potential. And Geno Smith, for the past 2 years, has led the Seahawks to 9-8 starts. And remember, they went 9-8 last year. They had the fourth hardest schedule in the NFL, playing teams from the AFC North, which is all, as we all know, a hard division to play against. And they also played against the NFC East. They had the fourth hardest schedule, and somehow they still went 9-8. And this time they have the 24th hardest schedule, which is otherwise known as the 8th easiest. Although there are some games that I am concerned about when it comes to the Seahawks going against, some of the ones do have concerns about are against the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the 49ers, of course, the Rams, the Packers, the Lions, Bears if they're going to be any good, but we'll see what happens. But other than those, this team has potential, and they are entirely ruling them out. And remember, what were people highlighting the Seahawks as after after Seattle traded away Russell Wilson? Let me go over some of what people said. Some people said they were going 4-13, and then some other people said they were going to go 3-14. And another person said they were going to go 0-17, which is absurd. They went 9-8 that year, shocking the entire world. They're in a similar situation this year, which they're being doubted. And this offense is going to be better, and the defense is going to be better. And the NFC West is getting more competitive. So my final point is this, that Mike Macdonald is a great defensive coach. And when you got a defense stacked with guys, especially in the secondary, like Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Rashawn Jenkins, and then have a defensive line with guys like Uchenna Nwosu and Leonard Williams, along with other guys like Boye Mafe that led the Seahawks in sacks last year. And also on top of it, bringing in Byron Murphy. The whole reason that the Seahawks brought in Leonard Williams from last season was to help cover the hole of Uchenna Nwosu. Before Uchenna Nwosu got hurt, they were 5th in rushing defense. And I've said this. Can you imagine what the defense is going to look like when the Seahawks got Leonard Williams and Uchenna Nwosu on the same rushing field? That's going to be legitimately terrifying for other opposing teams to deal with. That is going to be legitimately terrifying. But that is my prediction for the NFC teams. The teams I have just on the outside are 3 teams in particular: the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and also the Chicago Bears. I have debated this for some time, and I ultimately ended up with these 3 teams. The Rams, as I mentioned earlier, although they lost Aaron Donald, they could still fight for a playoff spot. And the Buccaneers, we still got questions about Baker Mayfield, despite him breaking the GOAT's stats from the season before. That's right, I said it. He did. And then also the Bears were still not sold on Caleb Williams being the guy in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. But that is my final prediction for the NFC playoff picture. Let me know in the comments what you guys think down in the comment section below. What teams do you guys think will make the playoffs for each conference? Let me know down in the comment section below. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao for now.